Yeah, because I was gonna ask, when you're door knocking, like what are you saying? When it sounds like at the end of the day, like it's an invitation, regardless if I'm calling somebody on the phone or circle prospecting or I'm door knocking, it's that private invitation script.
And
Nice.
I will share this with you, Cameron. This can be done around obviously your listing, but definitely around other people's listings as well.
Hmm.
There's a couple other door knocks you can add to that strategy. So after the open house, when that home goes under contract, get back out there and knock that community again. And all you're
Mm.
doing is being a news reporter of the cycle of that listing. I think a lot of people, again, if door knocking is your jam, if it's not, that's fine. But
Mm.
this is how you start to stack and build rapport, have better messaging, and then you are in a much different place of asking for the sale, if you will, than a single door knock. Hey, I'm Cameron. Do you want to sell your house? No, get out of here. Like, that's just not a powerful approach, right? But
Yeah.
if it's like, hey, I'm inviting you to a private preview that I'm hosting for the neighbors. Cool. Thanks. I'm not around. No problem. You come back. Hey, remember that home I came to let you know about? It's under contract. So
Mm.
now it's in escrow. Just wanted to let you know I always want to keep the neighborhood informed of what's going on.
Hmm.
And if they don't have any questions, which there is a question they'll often ask there, then you just let them know. I'll come back when the transaction's closed and let you know that it's all done. See ya.
Hmm.
So it's easy. You're building rapport. They're finding that answering your door knock, like answering the door to you, is not
Hmm.
cumbersome or trying to be salesy. None of that. You're easy. You're easy to talk to. And you're bringing
Yeah.
them a specific pointed message. And then you're like, see you later. The question, though, that often will be asked right there, Cameron, is going to be, what did it sell for? Now, here's what we're going to do with that. Because we just opened escrow and there's milestones between now and the closing of this transaction, I'm not in a position to share with you what that is because it could even adjust. But here's what I
Mm.
promise. As soon as it closes, I'm going to come back and I'll tell you all the details of that sale, including the price. Fair enough?
Yeah.
And now you're literally positioning yourself where you're being invited back to knock on the door. That's a very different experience.
I can imagine to where you're like, even if you like ask it in a way to where it's like, hey, I don't know the price as of right now because it's in escrow and it's still just going through the process. The price may change. And but like, would you be opposed to me coming back and just letting you know about it? And
Okay,
so,
I'm going to adjust two things there. Number
mhm.
one, they don't need to know that you don't know. So you're not going to say I don't know because it just went into escrow. You're going to say, well, when a property goes into contract, there's a few
Mhm.
milestones. It could even come back on the market. I make it common practice. We don't really share that number because it could adjust until
Mhm.
it's closed. So
Mhm.
you're giving them a reason why you're not going to tell them, even if you don't know. It's still true. And then I guess my approach to selling is a more assumptive close.
Mm.
So I'm not asking permission. I'm basically saying, hey, but here's what I promise I'm going to come back. Instead of asking, may I, I'm saying, don't worry, I will.
Yeah, because you want to
Because
give
if
them the
you ask the
opportunity.
simple question, may I come back? And they may say, no.
Yeah, they're like, no, I'm good.
All right. So we're talking about still the traffic part of your
Traffic.
open house. Okay. Let's
Yep.
talk about signage. All right. So
Mm.
we're doing some things out there with making sure that it's syndicating across the internet, that the open house exists. We're
Mhm.
making sure that we're leveraging our social media, even if it's not paid for, that's okay. We're still doing that effort to drive traffic and awareness. And then we're out there in the local community trying to really identify some selling opportunities and drive traffic. So if you get a listing because you door knocked for the open house that you held instead of at the open house, are you okay that you still got a listing, even though it wasn't at the open house?
Mhm.
Yeah, but the open
Mhm.
house is the reason why you're out there door knocking with that pointed message. This is where the open house traffic is going to be driven, but at the same time, you may find those opportunities by the result you were looking for at the open house could be there then. So, day of signage. When you put a directional, like if there's a corner, all right, think of like the last open house you were at, like where that major intersection was, two
Mhm.
decently trafficked streets. What are you doing for signs there?
So like what I do is like I try to find the main streets. Because like I said, I only have like 10. Sometimes I like borrow my friends and I have 12. I take those 12 and then the main streets that are nearest to me so I don't run out of signs. I try to do my best and put like at least two there. And then obviously I just have it like lead to the open house.
Perfect.
Starting from the main street.
Yeah. And so my recommendation is until you have the means to invest in more signs, borrow some. I really
Mm.
want you to start using closer to 30 signs for your
30
open
cents.
house. Yeah.
Okay.
And let me show you what it looks like and the methodology here. What we're looking at here is an example of what signage looks like at an open house that's effective. And what you're going to see here
Mhm.
on this is like one major street as an
Mm.
example. What you're going to see here is 4 signs in a row. You can get fancy with all kinds of great stuff as far as your signage and your photo, the whole 9 yards. My signs are really
Mhm.
specific that they stand out. Black and yellow is gonna stand out to people in a lot of cases, and that's why they may not be the prettiest open house signs, but they drive traffic. Their function is, for me, what was most important about how they'd be designed, and they serve that purpose very well. Now, you'll notice this is one turn, and I have 4 signs. Think about this. If a car is going, this is north, okay? Let's just say it's going north. I want to put it on the side where the vehicle's driving. So I don't have the signs on the left side. They may not see them pointing that direction. Does that make sense? So they're on the right side because that's the way that they're traveling. And I've spaced them out so that as a car traveling a certain speed has the time to see the signs, position themselves to make the turn. That's why they're spread out so much.
Yeah.
The other thing that you're going to find about my signs, and by the way, I'm sure you can see if I move this over, boom, there they are over there too. Now, why are they on that side of the street? Because of the people traveling south in this case. They're closest to those signs and it's letting them know to make a left. The other thing that you'll notice on my signage is that I have balloons. This is a simple but really effective way to capture the eye. Think about some home builders that you maybe went to go visit some model homes. What do they do to make sure that you know where to turn? What is something crazy that you see home builders do all the time to make sure you know where their model homes are located?
Sign flipper.
There
Like
you
that guy
go.
that's
Bingo.
always on.
They
Yeah.
hire a person to stand there and move the sign.
Yeah.
My balloons, that strategy is to do the same thing. Movement captures the eye. And those balloons that are relatively inexpensive, right? They're just cheap balloons. They're serving the same purpose as that person standing there moving the sign, because it's just forcing people, when they see movement, their eye is going to be attracted to that movement just for recognition, especially when they're driving, right? These are some ways to have much better traffic. And I always like to start with 2 major intersections from the house, maybe opposite directions, and signage to the property. When you're putting out signs, a really important tip, start from the furthest point out. You get good at driving traffic. If you put your main flag in the front of the house for the open house first, you may not leave. I've had that happen before. That's some tips on signage. And then for the front of the house, again, you may have to borrow in the interim, but I also want you to have something like this, like a 15-foot sign. A 15-foot sign like that is going to make it where when people turn down that street, there's no more question as to which house is being held open that day. The idea here, though, is not only to make sure it's easy for people to see where they're going, that's the destination, but also think about how you are positioning yourself amongst the neighborhood. And they're like, man, this guy markets. So that's some really key things to do to make sure that you're accentuating the traffic as much as possible. Let's be clear how that home shows up online, professional videos and photos, if it's priced correctly. These are going to be some of your main drivers for traffic.